fiats are worthless, that they have subjective value. Okay, you've written that in your reports, and that's linked to what you're saying now, that fiat is programmed to debase, agreed there, have subjective value, fiat Latin by decree, because I said so, agree there. But, and I understand that you have a formula to calculate the value or price of Bitcoin depending on the chances
which
of
I just tried to show how it works for every country. Yep.
But that sort of hinges on the fact that people see Bitcoin as the insurance here. I get that that is a way to determine the value or price of Bitcoin, but doesn't Bitcoin also have subjective value, like the fiat currencies do?
Yes and no too. I was flattered when Michael Novogratz. Now I can't say that Novo got the idea that Bitcoin is credit default swap insurance on sovereign debt, but he tweeted that out the other day, and a lot of people came up back to him and said, "Hey, haven't you seen that this kid in Canada, Foss? Even though I got all my training in the United States, Foss has been saying the same thing." No response. It doesn't matter. If the thesis is leaking out, it will, be spread by bigger money risk managers who tend to look at it from a credit lens. And I will tell you, another guy that I have enormous respect for at Golden Tree, Tannenbaum, Steve Tannenbaum, he loves Bitcoin for a similar reason. And all I'll tell you is it resonates with the credit guys more quickly than it resonates with, firstly, equity guys who, in my view, are not always the sharpest tools in the shed. And then the run-of-the-mill, mom and pop. It takes a long time to permeate the entire spectrum, Michelle. So yes, everything has subjective value, but I'll just tell you, for guys that have spent their life in credit, man, it's like the penny drops right away. They're like, oh my God, this is exactly the hedge I've been looking for my whole life.
Right. Again, though, just to play devil's advocate
I love
here,
you.
Greg.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
It hinges on broad consensus that Bitcoin is that insurance.
No, sir. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Because everybody can use different ways of valuing it. Other people can value it based on a technology. Other people can value it based on an information transfer protocol. So technology stock guys who I know have bought Bitcoin in Canada, they think of it as a technology, not as an insurance product. And then credit guys think of it as an insurance product. And you may think of it as totally something else, store of value, store of wealth. All of this is what determines an open market price on Bitcoin. And that's the beauty of unmanipulated market, okay? Bitcoin is unmanipulated. The fiat Ponzi is manipulated by guys like Jerome Powell, who gets up there and tries to manipulate your cost of funds using antiquated technology and rear view mirror driving, okay? This is the problem with capitalism today. Bitcoin is a free and open market. It's a thing of beauty, and it means different things to different people, and it can get valued in a whole lot of different ways. Ultimately, it settles on a market price that is not manipulated. It's beautiful.
And what you've described is what you call the fulcrum index.
That's correct.
Is what you've devised.
Let's not go too far, but just imagine that the idea that I laid out with the USA, take that for the USA, add in all the G7 nations, go all the way down to the G20. You'll come up with a number that's over $700,000 US per Bitcoin using credit default swaps. Hey, it's trading under 30,000. It's trading at let's do the math. It's trading at 1/27th of its intrinsic value, according to, I say the word intrinsic. You don't agree with me. I don't care. It's still 1/30th or 1/27th of the value that you could put on top of Bitcoin as a valuation metric. I don't sweat it. It's so stupid cheap. Don't overthink things. I could even give you a higher target price based on a share of total addressable market. I don't want to go there. I'm just going to say, if you own 0 Bitcoin, you're a fool. It is the best asymmetric investment opportunity I've ever seen in 35 years of managing risk. And we're listening to guys like Taleb and Charlie Munger, who are conflicted fiat Ponzi fools who are trying to say it has 0 intrinsic value. I'll take the other side. Thank you, sir. because I think it could
All
go
right.
many times higher. Thank you.
Look, I hear that, Greg, and I'm not saying I necessarily disagree with you,
I hear
by the
you.
way.
Yep, yep.
Not at all. Just pushing back here again on this idea of intrinsic value,
Sure.
because that does mean different things to different people.
I agree with
Typically
you.
means a tangible use for a product. I mean, if you look at the intrinsic value of a stock, for example, there are various ways to
100%.
calculate that. You've got discounted cash flow
I get you.
analysis.
Yeah.
You've got asset-based valuation.
Mine is
Right.
one model. There's many models to do it, Michelle. And here's what I would just like to say. You will not tell me or convince me that I'm wrong, because I've spent my entire life in that ring, okay? The credit ring. And I believe credit runs the world. Not only believe, I am certain of it. Why? Because there's $400 trillion of global debt. And there's only $100 trillion of global equity. Okay, so it's 4 times the size of the global equity market. It runs the market. If you don't know what's happening in credit, you're flying blind. And most equity guys are blind to what's going on in the credit markets. I've seen it every single crisis in my career. No disrespect, I guess a little disrespect, because credit has a prior claim in the capital structure. And if you don't know what's going on in the prior claim in the capital structure, you shouldn't be investing money. However, too many people don't know what's going on in the prior claim of the capital structure.
All right. Well, Greg, you have said, though, that you think it could be a matter of time before Bitcoin is actually the unit that energy is priced in, especially when we take into account the whole idea of de-dollarization, a trend that is accelerating with more and more countries choosing to trade in countries other than the dollar, with the petrodollar looking somewhat shaky, with Saudi Arabia accepting other currencies for the dollar, and again with the BRICS currencies coming together and looking at a global reserve asset to challenge the dollar, potentially backed by commodities. So how do you see oil being priced in Bitcoin? Play that scenario out for me. Does it hinge on Russia accepting Bitcoin for oil?
Well, okay, let's start with first principles. I'm an engineer. I believe in the law of conservation of energy. It's drilled into your head as an engineer. And I look at Bitcoin as digital energy. Okay, so I think very simply, in a closed system, if you're going to sell your valuable natural resource energy, oil and natural gas, for fiat dollars that can be debased, you're not, there's an alternative to sell it for digital energy. So you're selling natural resource energy in trade for digital energy that should maintain its value and increase in value over time because of its fixed supply. I'm like, man, that's a better way to price my valuable natural resource energy. Is it going to